The message arrived during lunch break, which seemed fitting for something that would change everything. Dr. Olivia Grant had her hands buried in the fur of a recovering wolf when her assistant practically ran into the rehabilitation center, waving a data pad like it was on fire. "You need to see this right now," he said, breathless. Olivia finished checking the wolf's healing leg wound before she even looked up. The animal came first, always. That was the rule she lived by for 15 years of working with Earth's most dangerous creatures. Only when the wolf settled comfortably in his enclosure did she take the pad and read the message. It was from somewhere called the Galactic Fauna Research Initiative. She had to read it 3 times before the words made sense. They wanted her. They wanted a human wildlife specialist to join an alien expedition studying dangerous predators across the galaxy. The pay was listed in credits she couldn't even convert to dollars without a calculator. "This has to be a joke," she said. Her assistant shook his head. "I verified it. It's real. They're waiting for your response." 2 days later, Olivia found herself standing in a docking bay that smelled like ozone and metal, staring at a ship that looked like someone had melted several buildings together and decided it could fly. The crew waited at the boarding ramp, and none of them looked happy to see her. Director Pelmara stood at the front, her insectoid body covered in scientific badges and certification marks. She had 4 arms, compound eyes, and mandibles that clicked when she spoke through the translation device on her collar. "Dr. Grant, welcome aboard the research vessel Pathfinder," Pelmara said. Her tone suggested this welcome was forced. "I must be honest with you. Your inclusion in this expedition was not my choice. The Council insisted we bring a human consultant after your species joined the galactic community. I do not believe you will be useful." Olivia had dealt with skeptics before. She just nodded. "I understand, do you?" This came from Felnar, the security chief. He was reptilian, easily 8 feet tall, with scales that gleamed like polished stone and eyes that looked like they could track a fly across a football field. "We study creatures that have destroyed colonies, predators that have killed thousands. You work with Earth animals in controlled environments. There is no comparison." "Maybe not," Olivia said calmly. She had learned long ago not to argue with people who had already made up their minds. Let the work speak for itself. The 4th crew member was Rico, a bird-like alien with brilliant blue feathers and talons that clicked nervously on the metal floor. He looked young, and he was the only one who seemed even slightly curious rather than dismissive. "I have watched videos of Earth animals," Rico said quietly. "Your wolves are beautiful." "They are," Olivia agreed, "and dangerous. But everything dangerous isn't evil. Sometimes they're just scared or protecting something they love." Felnar made a sound that might have been a laugh or a growl. "Naive human philosophy. Wait until you see a real predator." The last crew member was Dr. Horvath, another human. He was thin, older, with gray hair and the look of someone who spent more time with books than people. He shook Olivia's hand with an apologetic smile. "Don't mind them," he whispered. "They've never worked with anyone from Earth before. They think our planet is mostly harmless because we seem friendly." "Is it?" Pelmara's hearing was apparently excellent despite being 20 feet away. "Your planet is classified as Category 4 on the danger scale. Mild fauna, stable climate, minimal environmental threats. You have predators, yes, but nothing compared to true deathworlds." Olivia bit her tongue. She had seen the classification reports during her preparation. Earth was listed as safer than 70% of colonized worlds. Someone had clearly never met a polar bear or a saltwater crocodile, but she wasn't here to argue with a database. The ship launched within the hour. Olivia spent the first day getting used to the strange gravity that felt just slightly wrong, the air that tasted recycled, and the looks from crew members who clearly thought she was wasting everyone's time. On the second day, Pelmara called a briefing in the main research lab. A hologram appeared above the table, showing a mining colony built into a cluster of asteroids. "This is Broken Fang Colony," Pelmara explained. 3 weeks ago, all communication ceased. Scout drones found the facility abandoned but intact. No bodies, no signs of battle, but clear evidence of predator activity. We believe a pack of rift stalkers has claimed the territory." Rico made a small sound of distress. Even Felnar looked uncomfortable. "What are rift stalkers?" Olivia asked. The hologram changed, showing a creature that looked like someone had crossed a panther with a scorpion and added 2 extra legs. It had armor plating, a tail with visible venom sacs, and claws that could probably punch through steel. Apex predators from asteroid core environments, Pelmara said. Highly aggressive, territorial, and intelligent enough to use pack tactics. They have never been successfully captured or studied up close. Every attempt ends in casualties. Our mission is to confirm their presence and call for military extermination, Felnar added. Standard protocol for Class A threats. Wait, Olivia said. You're going to kill them just for being there? They displaced an entire colony, Felnar snapped. What would you suggest, human? Should we ask them nicely to leave? Olivia looked at the hologram again, studying the creature's body structure the way it moved in the footage. She saw the territorial marking patterns in the destroyed sections of the colony. She saw behavior that looked familiar despite the alien shape. Let me try first, she said. Before you call for extermination. Let me observe them. The lab went silent. Pelmara's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation that Olivia was learning to recognize. Absolutely not, the director said. You have no experience with creatures of this class. It would be suicide. Then what's the harm in trying? Olivia met Pelmara's compound eyes steadily. If I'm wrong, you lose nothing. You were already planning to kill them anyway. But if I'm right, maybe nobody has to die. Felnar laughed, a harsh barking sound. You think you can communicate with a rift stalker? You really are naive. Maybe, Olivia said. But I've been called that before. The asteroid colony looked dead from the outside. No lights flickered in the windows. No ships moved through the docking ports. The mining equipment sat frozen in positions that suggested people had simply stopped working mid-task and vanished. Olivia studied the exterior cameras while the Pathfinder maintained a safe distance. Pelmara stood beside her. Mandibles clicking in that nervous pattern Olivia had learned meant the director was deeply uncomfortable. The drones detected movement in the lower mining tunnels, Pelmara said. Thermal signatures consistent with at least 6 rift stalkers, possibly more. The pack structure suggests an alpha female leading the group. That's good, Olivia said. Every alien in the control room turned to stare at her. Good? Felnar's voice could have cut glass. How is an apex predator pack good news? Pack animals follow rules, Olivia explained. She pointed at the screen showing claw marks along the colony walls. See these patterns? They're regular, consistent. This isn't random destruction. These are territorial markers. The stalkers aren't hunting here anymore. They've claimed this space as home. Dr. Horvath leaned forward, interested despite himself. What's the significance of that? It means they're not aggressive right now. They're defensive. There's a difference. Olivia zoomed in on another section of damaged wall. Look at the depth of these marks. They're shallow, made with the tips of the claws, not the full strike. These are warnings, not attacks. They're telling other creatures to stay away from something they're protecting. Speculation, Felnar said flatly. You're projecting Earth animal behavior onto an alien species. Behavior is behavior, Olivia replied. Doesn't matter if it's a wolf or a rift stalker. Fear looks the same. Protection looks the same. Territory looks the same. Pelmara's translation device hummed as she made several clicking sounds without speaking. Finally, she said, even if you are correct, approaching them would be fatal. These creatures have killed trained military personnel. Military personnel who were probably armed and threatening, Olivia said. Let me go in alone, no weapons, no aggressive movements. Let me observe. Insanity, Felnar muttered. But Pelmara studied Olivia with those compound eyes that saw more colors than human eyes could process. You truly believe you can do this? I do. Why? Olivia thought about the wolf from 2 days ago, the one she had been checking when this all started. He had been rescued from an illegal fighting ring, traumatized and violent. Everyone said he should be put down. Too dangerous, too damaged, too aggressive. But Olivia had spent 3 months sitting outside his enclosure, letting him get used to her presence. Never pushing, never forcing. Just being there, consistent and calm. Now he let her check his wounds and even rested his head against her leg sometimes. Because every animal I've ever worked with was scared before it was dangerous, Olivia said simply. Fear comes first, always. Pelmara clicked her mandibles again. Then, to everyone's shock, she said, You may try, but you will wear a camera feed, and at the first sign of aggression you will retreat immediately. Felnar started to protest, but Pelmara cut him off with a sharp gesture. We are scientists. If Dr. Grant believes she can gather data without lethal force, we should allow the attempt. The military can still exterminate them if she fails. That wasn't exactly a vote of confidence, But Olivia would take it. 2 hours later, she stood at the airlock leading into the colony, wearing a suit that felt too bulky, and a camera rig that broadcast everything she saw back to the ship. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but her hands were steady. Fear was normal. She had learned to work with fear, not against it. The colony interior was dark except for emergency lighting that cast everything in red shadows. Olivia moved slowly through corridors marked with those territorial scratches. She kept her hands visible, her movements predictable. Every few minutes she paused and waited, letting her presence announce itself gradually. In the ship, the crew watched in silence. Rico's feathers had puffed up in distress. Horvath was taking notes. Felnar looked like he wanted to order her back but was holding himself still through sheer willpower. Olivia reached the mining tunnels after 40 minutes of careful movement. The temperature dropped here and she could see her breath fogging in the thin atmosphere. The claw marks were deeper, fresher. She was getting close, then she heard it. A low rumbling sound that vibrated through the floor. It wasn't quite a growl, not quite a purr. It was communication, she realized. The pack knew she was here. She sat down. The watching crew members made various sounds of confusion and alarm, but Olivia ignored them. She sat cross-legged in the middle of the tunnel, hands in her lap, head slightly bowed, non-threatening, patient, waiting. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then a rift stalker appeared at the far end of the tunnel. It was bigger than the hologram had suggested, easily the size of a horse, with that scorpion tail raised in what every instinct screamed was an attack position. Its 6 legs moved with predatory grace, and its eyes glowed in the dim light with an intelligence that was terrifying and beautiful at once. Olivia didn't move, didn't speak, just breathed slowly and kept her head down, showing submission without fear. The stalker crept closer, 5 feet away, 3 feet, close enough that Olivia could smell it, a scent like stone and electricity. Its breath huffed against her helmet. On the ship, Rico had covered his eyes. Pelmara was frozen. Felnar had his hand on the emergency extraction button. The stalker circled Olivia once, twice. Its tail swayed but didn't strike. Then it made that rumbling sound again, and 3 more stalkers emerged from the shadows. One of them was smaller, moving with a limp. A juvenile, Olivia realized. Injured. The alpha female, the first stalker, positioned herself between Olivia and the injured young. But she didn't attack. She watched. Olivia slowly raised her head, meeting the alpha's eyes for just a moment before looking away. Respect, not challenge. Then she waited some more. An hour passed. The crew was sending urgent messages asking if she was okay. Olivia tapped her wrist once to signal yes but didn't move otherwise. The alpha female gradually relaxed. Her tail lowered. She sat down. Olivia took a tiny risk. She looked at the injured juvenile and then at her medical kit, moving her eyes deliberately so the alpha could track her attention. Understanding flickered in those alien eyes. The alpha stepped aside. Permission granted. 3 weeks had passed since Broken Fang Colony, and the crew of the Pathfinder had responded to 7 more incidents involving dangerous predators. Each time Olivia had done what seemed impossible. Each time she had walked away unharmed while the creatures remained alive. On the aquatic world called Tidal 9, she had spent 6 hours in chest-deep water with venomous serpent-like creatures coiled around the research station supports. The aliens had watched from the safety of their sealed facility while Olivia identified the creatures as females guarding egg clusters. She had helped relocate the eggs to a safer breeding ground, and the serpents had followed peacefully. On Verde 3, a jungle planet with trees that stretched higher than skyscrapers, territorial predators had trapped a survey team in their camp for 4 days. Olivia had tracked the creatures through the canopy, recognized their distress calls, and discovered that construction noise from the camp was disrupting their mating season. Once the team agreed to move their equipment, the predators had vanished back into the jungle without incident. Every mission followed the same pattern. The crew would arrive expecting violence. Olivia would observe, interpret, and find a solution that didn't require killing anything. And every time the aliens watched with growing confusion and something that looked like fear. Now they sat in the research lab late into the ship's night cycle. Pelmara had called an emergency meeting, but she looked disturbed rather than excited. Data scrolled across multiple screens showing mission reports and statistical analysis. I have been reviewing our success rate, Pelmara said quietly. Dr. Grant has achieved 100% non-lethal resolutions across 7 separate incidents involving Class A predator threats. The statistical probability of this outcome is so low that I questioned my own calculations. It's not luck, Horvath said. He looked tired, but animated, the way scientists got when they stumbled onto something important. I've been analyzing the footage from each mission. Olivia isn't guessing. She's reading behavioral cues that the rest of us can't see, or rather that we don't know how to interpret. Explain, Felnar demanded. He had been quiet since Broken Fang, watching Olivia with an expression that shifted between respect and unease. Horvath pulled up footage from the Title IX mission, freezing it on a moment where one of the serpent creatures had its head raised near Olivia's face. Look at her posture here. She's not frozen in fear. She's actively mirroring the creature's movements. When it sways, she sways. When it lowers its head, she lowers hers slightly. She's speaking its language. That's anthropomorphization, Pelmara protested, but her voice lacked conviction. You cannot communicate with non-sentient predators, can't you? Olivia had been sitting quietly in the corner, but now she leaned forward. Every animal communicates. Maybe not with words, but with body language, scent, sound, behavior. You just have to know what to look for. And you do, Rico said softly. You always do. How? Olivia shrugged. Practice. I've worked with dangerous animals since I was 18. You learn to pay attention or you get hurt. It's that simple. It is not simple, Pelmara said sharply. Her mandibles clicked rapidly. I have been studying fauna for 40 years across 17 worlds, and I cannot do what you do. No one can. This level of predator interaction is unprecedented in galactic records. Silence fell over the lab. Olivia felt something shift in the air, a tension that hadn't been there before. Horvath cleared his throat. Pelmara, I think we need to tell her. Tell me what? Olivia looked between them. Pelmara made several clicking sounds that the translator didn't even attempt to convert. Finally, she pulled up a new screen. It showed Earth, slowly rotating in space with data columns surrounding it. When humanity made first contact 3 years ago, Pelmara began. There was significant debate about your planet's classification. Initial surveys suggested Category 4, as I told you. Mild threats, stable environment, suitable for colonization. But, Olivia prompted. But, Horvath continued, when they actually analyzed Earth's fauna database, several council members wanted to reclassify it immediately. They argued Earth should be labeled Category 9. Category 9? Olivia frowned. That's for deathworlds, planets where almost everything can kill you. Yes. Pelmara pulled up images that Olivia recognized. A grizzly bear, a saltwater crocodile, a great white shark, a hippo, a Cape buffalo. Your planet has hundreds of apex predators, multiple species in every climate zone that regularly kill and consume prey their own size or larger. The concentration of deadly fauna on Earth is higher than 97% of known habitable worlds. Olivia stared at the familiar animals on the screen. But these are just normal Earth animals. Exactly, Felnar said, and his voice was strange. To you, they are normal. You see a creature that could kill you with one bite, and you call it normal. Pelmara pulled up more data. A Bengal tiger would be classified as a Class A threat on most worlds. Your planet has thousands of them, and human children learn about them in school as educational subjects. Crocodilians have existed virtually unchanged for millions of years because they are perfect predators, and humans swim in waters where they live. We're careful, Olivia said, but the word sounded weak even to her. You coexist, Horvath corrected. That's the point. Humans evolved on a planet where you had to learn to coexist with apex predators or go extinct. Every human child grows up learning to read animal behavior because it was survival. You don't fear predators the way we do because you've been living with them your entire evolutionary history. Rico's feathers had flattened against his body. My homeworld has 3 predator species total. None of them are larger than my hand. The idea of something that could eat me is theoretical, not practical. Most spacefaring species evolved on worlds with minimal natural threats, Pelmara added. We developed intelligence and technology in environments where the biggest danger was weather or scarcity, not being hunted. Humans developed intelligence while sharing their world with creatures that saw them as prey. Olivia thought about it, really thought about it. She remembered being 7 years old. camping with her parents and having her father teach her what to do if they encountered a bear. Stay calm, don't run. Make yourself look big. Speak in low, steady tones. She had thought every kid learned that. The classification was suppressed, Horvath said quietly. The council decided that labeling Earth as a death world would cause panic. Better to let humans integrate slowly, let other species get used to us. But the truth is, every human who joins galactic society brings with them an education in surviving alongside apex predators, skills that the rest of the galaxy doesn't have. Skills that seem like magic to us, Pelmara admitted. Her tone was difficult to read, but it wasn't hostile anymore. It was almost reverent. You are not just good at this, Dr. Grant. Your entire species is adapted for it in ways that we are only beginning to understand. Olivia looked at her hands, scarred from years of work with animals that could have killed her. She had never thought of it as special. It was just what you did if you wanted to work with wildlife. But seeing the way the aliens looked at her now, she finally understood. They weren't just impressed. They were frightened. Frightened of what humanity represented, a species that had tamed death itself and called it normal. The distress call came through during what should have been a rest day. Olivia was teaching Rico how to read territorial markers when every screen in the ship suddenly switched to emergency broadcast mode. A panicked voice filled the speakers, speaking so fast the translator struggled to keep up. This is Paradise Hold requesting immediate military intervention. We have a Code Black Predator incursion. Repeat Code Black. Multiple civilian casualties confirmed. Void terrors have claimed the main habitat dome. Requesting immediate orbital strike authorization. The command deck erupted into controlled chaos. Felnar was already pulling up tactical displays while Pelmara opened communication channels. Olivia felt her stomach drop when she heard the species name, Void Terrors. She had read about them during her preparation for the mission. They were on the Galactic Extermination List, one of only 12 species considered too dangerous to ever attempt capture or study. The records showed grainy footage of creatures that looked like nightmares made solid, all teeth and claws and armored hide. Every documented encounter had ended in deaths. How many civilians trapped? Felnar demanded. 3,200 in the underground shelters, the voice replied. Life support failing. Estimate 48 hours before critical failure. Military response time? Pelmara asked. 72 hours minimum. They're assembling a strike fleet. Pelmara's mandibles clicked frantically. That's beyond the life support window. The civilians will be dead before help arrives. Olivia was already pulling up everything she could find about void terrors. The data was sparse and mostly consisted of attack reports, but there were a few behavioral observations mixed in with the carnage. She focused on those, ignoring the death counts and focusing on the patterns. Set course for Paradise Hold, Pelmara ordered. Maximum speed. They arrived 16 hours later to find a luxury resort world that had become a war zone. Paradise Hold had been designed as the ultimate vacation destination, with massive transparent domes that let visitors enjoy perfect weather while being protected from the planet's native fauna. One of those domes, the largest, now housed 2 void terrors who had turned it into their territory. The creatures were visible through the dome's transparent walls. They were massive, easily 20 feet long with 6 powerful legs ending in claws that looked like they could tear through steel. Their bodies were covered in overlapping plates of natural armor, and their heads featured rows of teeth that never seemed to stop growing. But what struck Olivia most was how they moved, restless and agitated, pacing the perimeter of the dome in patterns that looked almost frantic. They're stressed, she said quietly. They're hunting, Felnar corrected. Look at those kill patterns. They've already taken down 3 security teams who tried to enter. Olivia shook her head, still watching the creatures. No, if they were hunting, they'd be still waiting for prey. This is defensive behavior. They're protecting something. Horvath enlarged one section of the footage. She's right. See how they keep returning to the center of the dome? They're guarding something there. Pelmara pulled up thermal imaging. In the center of the dome, partially hidden by decorative plants, was a cluster of heat signatures that didn't match the terror's body temperature. Eggs, Olivia breathed. They're nesting. That makes them more dangerous, not less, Felnar said. Protecting parents will kill anything that approaches. Yes, but it also means they have a reason for being there. They didn't claim the dome for territory. They needed a safe place for their eggs. Olivia started pulling up the facility's construction records. Look, there was mining nearby 6 weeks ago. Seismic charges. That must have destroyed their original nesting site. Pelmara studied the data. So these creatures displaced an entire resort because humans destroyed their breeding ground. And now humans want to kill them for it, Olivia said quietly. The military authorization stands, Felnar reminded them. In 48 hours they'll level that dome whether we've evacuated the civilians or not. No one has ever survived close contact with void terrors. Olivia looked at the creatures pacing in their stolen home, and she saw the same thing she had seen in every animal she had ever worked with. Fear, desperation, parents, trying to protect their young in the only way they knew how. Let me try, she said, absolutely. Not. Pelmara's voice was sharp. Dr. Grant, you have done impressive work, but these are void terrors. They have killed over 300 sentient beings in documented encounters. They are not rift stalkers or aquatic serpents. They are extinction-level predators. They're also parents, Olivia said, and they're hurt. Look at the thermal imaging more closely. The male has injuries along his left side, probably from the security teams who attacked. They're not just aggressive, they're in pain and terrified. Rico made a small distressed sound. But how can you help them? They'll kill you the moment you enter the dome. Maybe, Olivia admitted, but I have to try. Those civilians don't deserve to die because we're too afraid to attempt communication. And those terrors don't deserve to die because they were just trying to protect their children. Horvath looked at her with something like awe. You really believe you can do this? I believe they deserve the chance. Pelmara was silent for a long moment. Then she pulled up the communication channel to Paradise Hold's emergency command. This is Research Vessel Pathfinder. We have a specialist who may be able to resolve the situation non-lethally. Request permission to attempt contact before military strike. The response was immediate and hostile. You want to negotiate with void terrors? Are you insane? Possibly, Pelmara said, looking at Olivia. But we're going to try anyway. Give us 48 hours. If we fail, the military can proceed as planned. If we succeed, thousands of lives will be saved. There was a long pause. Then, you have 24 hours. After that, we're clearing the area for orbital strike whether you're done or not. Felnar turned to Olivia. His expression was unreadable. I've trained for combat my entire life. Faced down pirates and raiders and hostile fauna, but I would not walk into that dome for any reason. If you do this, you're either the bravest person I've ever met or the most foolish. Can't it be both? Olivia tried to smile, but her hands were shaking. She had 24 hours to communicate with creatures that had never been communicated with before. 24 hours to convince two terrified parents that not all humans were threats. 24 hours to prove that understanding was more powerful than violence. It was the most impossible thing she had ever attempted. She started preparing immediately. The dome entrance felt like walking toward the edge of the world. Olivia stood before the sealed door, checking her equipment one last time. No weapons, just medical supplies, water, and the camera rig that would broadcast everything to the ship and, she had just learned, to most of the galaxy. The Council insisted on live transmission. Pelmara had explained apologetically. They want evidence if you fail. If I fail, evidence won't matter much, Olivia had replied. Now, with her hand on the door control, she could feel the weight of all those eyes watching. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds waiting to see if a human could do the impossible, or if she would become just another casualty statistic. She pressed the button. The door slid open. Inside the dome, the two void terrors immediately went still, their heads swiveled toward her in perfect synchronization, and Olivia felt every survival instinct in her body scream at her to run. They were so much bigger in person than any footage had suggested. Mountains of muscle and armor and teeth that could bite her in half without effort. She stepped inside. Let the door close behind her. No escape now. The male terror made a sound like grinding stone mixed with a tiger's roar. His injuries were clearly visible now, deep gouges in his armored hide that wept a fluid that might have been blood. He was in pain, which made him exponentially more dangerous. Olivia sat down. It was the same strategy she had used with the rift stalkers, but this felt different. Those had been pack hunters, evolved to cooperate. These were apex predators that had never needed to cooperate with anything. She was betting her life that some behaviors were universal, that even void terrors understood non-threatening submission. The female approached first. Her movements were liquid grace despite her size, claws clicking on the dome floor. She circled Olivia once, twice, her breath hot enough that Olivia could feel it through her suit. Then she made a sound, not aggressive, almost questioning. Olivia kept her head down but let her eyes track the female's movement. Awareness, not challenge, minutes crawled by. The male terror kept his distance, watching with eyes that gleamed with intelligence that was frightening. He was evaluating her, Olivia realized, trying to determine if she was a threat to his mate and eggs. Slowly, carefully, Olivia began to hum. Not a song, just a low, steady vibration in her throat. The same technique she had used with frightened horses, with injured wolves, with every scared animal that needed to hear something predictable and calm. The female terror cocked her head, listening. On the ship, Rico was crying quietly. Filnar had his claws dug into his own armrests. Horvath was taking notes with shaking hands. And Pelmara was watching with all her eyes focused on the screens, barely breathing. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the feed. Social media networks were crashing from the sheer volume of traffic. Humans watched with pride and terror. Other species watched with disbelief. An hour passed. Then 2. Olivia's legs went numb from sitting, but she didn't move. The female terror eventually sat down about 10 feet away, still watching. The male remained standing, still evaluating. Olivia could see the eggs now, partially hidden in a nest they'd built from dome furnishings and native plants. 7 eggs, each about the size of a beach ball, with shells that shimmered in the light. The male positioned himself between Olivia and the nest as any good father would. She understood his fear. His mate was struggling. The eggs were in danger. Everything that had approached them had attacked. He was doing what any parent would do, defending his family the only way he knew how. "I know you're scared," Olivia said quietly. The terrors didn't speak human language, but tone was universal. "I know you're hurt. I know you just want your babies to be safe. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help." The male made that grinding roar again, but quieter this time, more uncertain than aggressive. Then the female did something that made everyone watching catch their breath. She stood up, walked to her mate, and gently pushed him aside with her massive head. Then she approached Olivia so close that Olivia could have reached out and touched her armored snout. The terror lowered her head. An invitation or a test, Olivia wasn't sure which. Moving slowly, telegraphing every motion, Olivia reached into her medical kit. The male tensed immediately, but the female made a soft sound that seemed to calm him. Olivia pulled out a scanner, showed it to the female, let her sniff it and examine it. Then, with permission granted in a language without words, Olivia scanned the female terror. The results made her heart sink. The female was egg-bound. One of the eggs was positioned wrong, blocking the others. Without help, she wouldn't be able to lay them. Without laying them, the eggs would die. The female would probably die too. "I can help," Olivia said, looking into those alien eyes. "But you have to trust me." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the female terror lay down, exposing her vulnerable underside. Trust. What followed was the most delicate work Olivia had ever done. Using equipment designed for Earth animals and improvised tools from her kit, she carefully helped reposition the egg. The male terror watched every movement, ready to kill her if she caused pain. The female remained still, trembling but trusting. It took 3 hours. By the end, Olivia's hands were cramped and her back was screaming. But when the first egg finally emerged, healthy and whole, she felt tears running down her face. The male terror made a sound she had never heard before. Joy, she thought. Pure joy. The female laid the remaining eggs over the next hour, each one successfully delivered. When it was done, she was exhausted but alive. The male gently moved the eggs into their nest, arranging them with surprising delicacy for a creature with such massive claws. Then both terrors looked at Olivia. She was sitting between two of the galaxy's most feared predators, exhausted and emotionally drained when the male terror slowly approached. He lowered his massive head and very gently touched his snout to her shoulder. "Thank you," the gesture said in a language that transcended species. Olivia reached up with a shaking hand and touched his armored face. "You're welcome," she whispered. The broadcast was being watched by over 8 billion beings now. The social media feeds were on fire. Humans were celebrating. Other species were silent with shock. A human had just made peace with creatures of extinction. She had sat between apex predators and earned their trust. She had helped bring new life into the world instead of destroying it. In the command center of Paradise Hold, the military officer in charge of the orbital strike watched the feed with wide eyes. His hand hovered over the authorization button that would have killed everything in that dome. Slowly, he pulled his hand away. No strike would be necessary. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Olivia had ever seen. It stretched upward for what seemed like miles, with seating arranged in circular tiers that held representatives from 347 different species. Every seat was filled. Every eye or visual sensor was focused on the small human standing. At the center of the floor, 3 weeks had passed since Paradise Hold. 3 weeks since 8 billion beings had watched Olivia Grant sit between void, terrors, and help bring their young into the world. The footage had been viewed more times than any other recording in galactic history. It had changed everything. Now they wanted answers. Dr. Grant, the speaker began. He was a crystalline being whose body refracted light in rainbow patterns when he moved. You have been summoned before this council to explain your abilities and to answer questions about your species' capabilities. Do you understand why you are here? I think so, Olivia said. Her voice echoed in the enormous space. Then let us begin directly. Can all humans do what you do? Olivia thought about how to answer that. Not exactly the way I do it. I have training and experience that most people don't. But yes, most humans can learn to read animal behavior if they're taught. We grow up learning it. A murmur ran through the chamber. A representative from a floating jellyfish-like species spoke up, her translator making her voice sound like music. Explain this learning process. We wish to understand. It starts when we're children, Olivia said. Parents teach their kids how to act around animals. Don't run from predators. Don't corner frightened creatures. Watch their body language for warnings. Listen to their sounds. Respect their space. For humans, this is basic safety education. Safety education, another representative repeated slowly. He looked like a bipedal turtle and sounded disturbed. On my world, we have 2 small predators. Neither is larger than a human hand. Children are taught to avoid them completely. You teach your children to understand creatures that could kill them. Yes, Olivia said simply. Because on Earth, avoidance isn't always possible. We share our planet with thousands of dangerous species. We had to learn to coexist. Pelmara stood from her seat in the observer section. The council had given her permission to attend as the director of the research mission. If I may add context, honored council, Earth has approximately 4,000 apex predator species distributed across all climate zones. Humans evolved in an environment where they were both predator and prey. Their survival required the development of sophisticated behavioral interpretation skills. 4,000, someone whispered. The number rippled through the chamber like a shockwave. The speaker's crystalline form shifted colors. Dr. Grant, we have reviewed your mission reports. You have achieved non-lethal resolutions in 12 separate incidents involving Class A predator threats. The statistical probability of this success rate, according to our best analysts, is effectively 0. Yet you have done it. How? Olivia struggled to find words for something that felt instinctive. I watch them. I see what they're afraid of, what they're protecting, what they need. Every animal communicates if you know how to listen. It doesn't matter if it evolved on Earth or a planet halfway across the galaxy. Fear looks the same. Pain looks the same. Love looks the same. Love, the speaker repeated. You suggest that void terrors, creatures responsible for hundreds of deaths, are capable of love? Their parents, Olivia said firmly. They were protecting their eggs. Of course they love their children. Don't you love yours? Silence fell over the chamber. It was a simple question, but it seemed to shake something fundamental in how the assembled species viewed predators. Felnar stood next. He had been given permission to speak as a witness. Honored council, I must confess something. When Dr. Grant first joined our mission, I believed she was a liability. I thought human confidence was based on ignorance. I was wrong. His voice carried clearly through the chamber. Humans are not ignorant of danger. They are intimate with it. They understand predators because they lived alongside them for their entire evolutionary history. What seems like magic to us is simply education to them, and that terrifies me. Why does it terrify you? The speaker asked. Because it means humans are adapted to survive in environments that would destroy most of us. It means they have skills we cannot easily learn because we never needed to develop them. It means they are more formidable than any of us realized. Felnar looked at Olivia. But it also means they can teach us. If we're willing to learn. More murmuring through the chamber. A representative from a species that looked like living metal spoke up. What do you propose, Security Chief Felnar? I propose we stop fearing human abilities and start utilizing them. Create a program, an initiative, where humans can train other species in predator behavior recognition. Let them teach us what they know. Let them help us coexist with the dangerous fauna we've been killing out of fear. Rico stood as well, his blue feathers shimmering. I would like to be the first student of such a program. As would I, said another representative. And I, said another. Voices began overlapping, species from across the galaxy expressing interest. The speaker raised a crystalline appendage for silence. Dr. Grant, would you be willing to lead such an initiative? Olivia felt the weight of all those eyes again. She thought about the void terrors and their eggs. She thought about the rift stalkers who now lived peacefully near the miners who had once feared them. She thought about all the creatures across the galaxy who had been killed simply because no one knew how to speak their language. Yes, she said, I'll do it. The chamber erupted in discussion. The speaker called for formal votes. Committees were formed. Budgets were allocated. In less than an hour, the Interspecies Harmony Initiative was created, with Dr. Olivia Grant as its first director. 6 months later, Olivia stood in a training facility on a neutral world, watching her first class of non-human students practice reading body language on holographic simulations. Rico was there, along with 47 other beings from 24 species. They were struggling with concepts that seemed simple to Olivia, but they were learning. Pelmara approached, mandibles clicking in the pattern Olivia now recognized as pleasure. Dr. Horvath's paper has been published. Reactions are significant. The paper was titled, Deathworld Advantage, Human Evolutionary Adaptations for Apex Predator Coexistence, and it had ignited debates across the scientific community. Some species were arguing for reclassifying Earth as a Category 9 world. Others insisted it didn't matter what number they assigned to it. Humans were already here, already part of galactic society, and already changing how that society viewed the dangerous creatures they shared the universe with. Olivia looked at her students, watching them slowly overcome their instinctive fear responses, learning to see predators as creatures with needs and feelings, rather than mindless killing machines. How many applications do we have for the next class? She asked. Over 3,000, Pelmara said, from 112 different species. 3,000 beings who wanted to learn. 3,000 chances to prevent unnecessary deaths, both human and animal. 3,000 opportunities to build bridges instead of walls. Olivia smiled. We're going to need a bigger facility. Later that evening, she received a message from Paradise Hold. The Void Terror family had successfully raised all 7 young. The resort had built a sanctuary for them in an unused section of the planet, and the family had become something unexpected. Ambassadors. Visitors came from across the galaxy to observe them from safe distances, to see the creatures that had once been considered unkillable nightmares, now living peacefully under human care. The male terror, the message said, still remembered her. When Olivia had visited last month, he had recognized her immediately and brought his young to meet her one by one, as if presenting his children to a trusted friend. Olivia looked at the attached photo. 7 young void terrors, still small but growing fast, playing under the watchful eyes of their parents. In the background, human caretakers worked alongside alien researchers, all of them learning together how to understand rather than fear. This was what she had always believed, that the language of survival, of family, of love and fear was universal. It didn't matter if you had 2 legs or 6, scales or feathers, if you breathed oxygen or methane. Life was life. Fear was fear. And understanding was always possible if you were willing to try. Felnar found her looking at the photo. He had become her assistant director, using his security expertise to help develop safety protocols for interspecies interaction. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had failed? He asked quietly. Every day, Olivia admitted. But I also wonder what would have happened if I hadn't tried. How many creatures would still be dead? How many species would we still fear instead of understand? Felnar made a sound like a rumbling purr. You humans have a saying about teaching someone to fish instead of giving them fish. Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach him to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Yes, you have taught the galaxy to fish. He gestured toward the training facility, where students were still practicing even though the official day had ended. You have given us tools to coexist instead of destroy. That is a gift beyond measure. Olivia watched her students, beings from across the galaxy, learning to speak the silent language that every living creature shared. She thought about Earth, her impossible, dangerous, beautiful home that had trained humanity to survive alongside monsters and call them neighbors. We're all just trying to survive, she said softly. Whether we're human or void terror or anything in between, once you understand that, everything else becomes easier. The galaxy was learning that lesson, slowly, one species at a time, one frightened creature at a time. And Olivia would be there to teach it, for as long as they needed her. Because that was what humans did. They built bridges. They found understanding. They looked at the impossible and made it possible. They tamed apex predators not through force but through compassion, and in doing so they had changed the galaxy forever.